This is the voice of Killer Cross.
This is the pretty badass Kelly Klein.
The interview queen, Alicia Atu.
This is AJ Kirsch, one half of the MLW commentary team.
This is Brittany Savage.
We're about to take it to the max.
And take it to the max.
It's time to take it to the max.
It's time to take it to the max.
Host Mike Larkin, and joining me for this episode is the man behind the Washington Wrestletalk podcast, the heavy metal Jesus, the oddity, and a man who will be facing Ted P. De Niro in the second annual King of the Mic in the opening round in 2 weeks, Mr. Mike Jolly. Broski, how you doing?
I'm doing freak fantastic, having a great night despite it's kind of warm here in the Northwest. It's still about 82 degrees outside here, so kind of sweating a little bit, but having fun with it. How you doing? How's that job treating you, by the way?
Bro, feeling good. As people know, I'm doing my thing in market research, man, working from home with got my headset, feeling good, making money and feeling good, Mike Jolly, and doing what I do as far as podcasting goes. And now I'm talking to my broski. It's a good night, Mike. It's a good night.
It's a great night, and I got my drink, minus the ice cubes, of course, because real men don't need ice cubes. It waters that stuff down. It's nice to see that you're back working, especially with the situation going on.
Of course.
With the COVID. I've told a lot of my guests this. A lot of the people in the Max Wrestling world know that I'm an essential worker, kind of like Corey, Cypher. We both are essential workers. Myself, I am a certified pharmacy technician in the state of Oregon. And I live in Washington. Figure that one out. So with this whole thing going on, a lot of people have been out of work, but for me, it's just been Monday through Friday. Occasionally a weekend. But do you know that they took away our hazard pay?
Oh, Jesus, man.
Yeah, effective June 15th. But, as a thank you, and they call it neighborhood superhero pay, they gave us $4 for every hour averaged that we work over the last 3 months. And it wasn't that much, and it's I just show up. It's like the old Stone Cold, all right. Arrive, raise hell, leave.
Yep.
For me, it's arrive, do my job, leave, done. And that's what I do 5 days a week. I don't hang out with any of my coworkers outside of work. I've only done it once, and I got completely blitzed. It was my boss's wedding. Hey, she had an open bar. What could I say?
It's open bar, heading on over.
The Jack Daniels was flowing, and somehow I got up on the dance floor. I don't remember that one.
Hold on. What exactly were you dancing to? Did they tell you what you were dancing to? You got some moves there, Mike Jolly, that I don't know about.
I don't even. I think I was trying to start a mosh pit with sweating music, and that didn't go over too well. And it was at the downtown Portland World Trade Center.
Oh.
When you mention the World Trade Center now, you can't help but reminisce about the Twin Towers. But when I mention the World Trade Center in Portland, it is probably the most ungodly looking eyesore of structures that you'll ever see. Who the hell designed these things?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've seen what you're talking about. And I kind of had the same thing. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way to put up a building. Okay.
I just kind of look at it. I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God. Did somebody from Oregon design this? I shouldn't diss Oregon too much. I mean, Granted, with the whole situation, Oregon has like one of the least amounts of corona infections in the country.
Well, that's the thing. Like here in the Carolinas, it's like skyrocketing, like booming, man. It's nuts.
It is. It is because there was the whole Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend,
Mhm.
and a lot of states in the South, not just the deep South, but California, Texas, Arizona, their rate of infections are just skyrocketing. Now, what I want to ask you, Mr. Mike Larkin,
Yes, Mr. Mike Jolly.
what about Caleb Braxton getting it a second time?
Oh, man,
Yeah,
that's the thing. The news with Caleb Braxton and just the whole nine, what's going on there? Renee Young now? I'm like, God almighty.
I know. I mean, it was her first time on SmackDown in how long? And boom, it's scary. It is really scary. Um, I know the store that I work at, we had one person test positive for it.
Mhm.
That was back in March, so precautions were taken. And precautions are still taken, right?
Mhm.
So we wear masks, um, wash our hands 47 times a day, hand sanitize, all that fun stuff. Let's stop with the bad talk here and let's get on with the good stuff, shall we?
Exactly. We shall. But I want to ask you because first and foremost, I'm going to tell you
I
right
know
now,
nothing. I know nothing. I am just messenger.
you are. Well, first and foremost, well, it's good news here, Mr. Mike Jolly. Dude, I'm so
I
happy.
know nothing. I am just the messenger.
First and foremost, I'm so happy to have you a part of these promo competitions because first and foremost, you've delivered something fierce. Now, you were in King of the Mic in 2 weeks. You got Ted P. De Niro, who calls himself the OTH, the one true heel, and the winner of yourself and Mr. Ted P. De Niro will take on Travis the Walker Anderson or Cypher in the semifinals, and then we get to the final. Then the road goes to Promo Slam against the promo champion, whether it be the Demoness herself, Miss Nicola McDonald, or Mr. Rob Chef, the Joker himself. Mr. Mike Jolly, what can we expect from you going against Ted P. De Niro in 2 weeks?
I'm going to take a line from one of my favorite wrestlers of all time,
Good.
the Stinger. The only thing for sure about me is nothing's for sure.
Oh, beautiful. I cannot wait. Well, dude, you've been starting it off hot, man. We had the promo league. Now we got the promo bowl going. Dude, you killed it with Cypher and Brittany Savage. We got to see a lot of the creativity in the mind of the heavy metal Jesus. I got to say, you've started out great with your first two. I loved them, dude. I loved them.
Yeah, it was funny. When Brittany, and she's a sweetheart,
Yes.
and she's an absolute sweetheart, and I'm glad that I've become friends with her. Um, in her promo, she said that it was country music that was playing.
I heard that.
I'm on record right now, Brittany Savage, and tell you that was not country music. If you are as you say you are, you would know that is the theme song of one Vincent Marcellia from Ring of Honor. That is his entrance music that I used in my promo with Cypher.
See? There you go. It all comes full circle. Vinny Marseglia. Yes, Marcellia. Thank you. Dude, there's another one that's really changed up. The Horror King now. Remember he was in the Kingdom. Now he's the Horror King. That dude is killing it.
And he was always the Horror King. Even when he was in the Kingdom, he was known as the Horror King.
So yeah, there's a little knowledge for everybody now. Forgetting that you're using Vinny Marseglia's theme in your thing with Cypher. And that's the thing, like 2 minutes or what have you, dude. You killed him. Then you tried to go. You went a little creepy, little Cactus Jack Manson type of style with what you did with
Jack,
her.
a little Cactus Jack, a little Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
That's me turned up to 11, basically.
Well, that's how you got to do it. It's what we do at Max Wrestling. Turn it to 11 and take it to the max, Mike Jolly.
And I really did appreciate all the positive feedback that I got from a lot of the competitors. It meant a lot to me. I mean, this is the first time I've done something like that. And I mean, for the longest time, I was always a shy, quiet person.
Mm-hmm.
But, ever since I've, started podcasting, Gen Con last year, people have started to see my creativity, and, Jennifer Thomas, God bless her, actually called me the Paul Heyman of the session wrestling community.
Which is the ultimate compliment. It's someone who is a Paul Heyman girl.
I am that creative. And I told her, I'm like, I'm just me, this stuff just comes to me, and I do it. And, like I said, you just never know what you're going to expect with me in this King of the Mic tournament. I'll tell you that much.
Well, just to educate the people, for those that don't know who Jennifer Thomas is, because there's going to be listeners that don't. She's also Jenny Bloody Valentine in Lingerie Fighting Championships. Wrestled UPW, OVW, wrestled with the likes of Beth Phoenix. Man, we'll be here all day. She is someone who's just so talented, as well as the Sessions wrestling community, the Gen Con, like you mentioned. A sweetheart of a woman and just an overall badass, man.
She is an absolute badass, but I don't know if you remember her when she was in OVW and Deep South, what her name was.
Karma?
She was the original Karma before Awesome Kong.
Yep.
And, I've been meaning to get her on my podcast again. I was supposed to call her on Father's Day, but, things just didn't work out on my end. Had a bit of an issue here at the homestead. But everything's resolved, so I'll try this weekend to. But she's coming back onto my show, and it's going to be fun. It always is fun. Every guest I have is fun for me, just like every guest you have is fun. And which reminds me, Dom Cat told me that you told her that I will be at Gen Con this. Yeah, and guess who now has to bring the alcohol?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I've spent a lot of money on this booze, okay, and now I have to share. Hey, I'm an only child, god dang it.
I'm an only child too, bro.
Mama didn't teach me how to share, okay?
Hey, bro, I'm right there with you. I'm an only child too. I'm right there with you. I get it.
Well, you know who else I'm going to be drinking with there is Jolene.
Oh, the beautiful Jolene, the Valkyrie Hex, current LFC European champion. Yep.
Oh yeah, and we got the thumb war going, so we'll see whose thumb is. I think I could take her in that, but now that I think about it,
you think Mike just it's a thumb war, is what it is, man. It's a thumb war.
The thumb war, but I know she's one of the few in the session community that wants to really kick my ass.
Wait a minute, hold on. Besides her, doesn't Mia Annabella want to shave your head?
Yeah, Mia wants to shave my head. Kit Kat Baby wants to, put me in a scissors. God knows what Delight De La Cruz wants to do to me. Chloe Cummings wants to really kick my ass. I could just list off the name.
Mike's got a lot of ass kickings coming his way.
I've got a lot of ass whoopings coming my way. And I don't know why I'm like the nicest person. And it's funny. I'm like the nicest person ever. But it was like Triple H when he was on. I believe it was the Conan O'Brien show back in 2000.
Yeah.
He said, "God, the biggest heels in wrestling are some of the nicest guys in real life," and that's pretty. That describes me to a T these days.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, in life, and I don't mean to get too deep on this, but they judge books by their cover, and they don't realize what an actual, sweetheart of a person they are and how genuine people are.
You mentioned deep. It just made me think of something.
Hit me.
And now, for some deep thoughts.
And now for some deep thoughts. Oh my god. Okay.
I'm I'm a character, okay? I'm a character. You know this. You know
Oh,
this.
I knew what I was getting once I hit record on the microphone.
Yeah, once you're like, oh my god, what have I gotten myself into?
Bro,
Oh my god.
we've done these shows before. People can check out my appearances on the Washington Wrestletalk podcast and Mike on the LFC podcast. We're characters. We love what we do. You know, we're two people that just love talking LFC and professional wrestling. And there was one thing that a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know?
Yes.
And
Well, I think when I had you on the LFC podcast, and I don't mean to cut you off, I think one of the things that stood out that a lot of people were kind of curious about, because there's, again, so many alternatives, so many great professional wrestlers out there and professional wrestling companies. A lot of people were kind of curious to your reasoning behind why you're not the biggest fan of AEW.
why I'm not a big fan of AEW. Okay, first off, Tony Khan, he's a mark for his own. He's a mark for himself. I mean, basically, he's like, daddy handing the keys to the kingdom, and he can do whatever he wants. Look at the roster. It's the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, the Elite, minus Marty Scurll, who actually did appear in one of the Being the Elite videos a couple weeks back, which seems to lead towards an AEW ROH, co-promotion, which
Relationship.
a relationship, which in turn will open doors for the NWA, because with the whole Nick Aldis being the world champion, and Nick, don't get me wrong, I really like Nick Aldis as a performer, but Jesus Christ, get that belt off of him already.
That's where I'm at with it, to be honest with you, with Nick Aldis, aka Magnus, as a champ. I'm kind of like, all right, can we get it on somebody else now? I'm just saying, new opportunity.
And the one bright spot I do have for AEW is Ricky Starks.
Oh, a great match with Cody, now on the scene.
And if anybody who hasn't seen Ricky Starks before, check out on YouTube NWA Power, of course, Power with 3 R's. Don't ask me why Billy Corgan did that. But he had some phenomenal matches with guys like, Aaron Rex, of course, Aaron Stevens.
Dickie Dice, outlandish Dickie Dice.
Dickie, that guy is an anomaly to me. Okay,
he's awesome. I just had myself and Chef on the Jokers Club podcast. Check it out. We had the pleasure of interviewing him not too long ago. Great guy.
Is he really that insane?
He's the character. He's the gimmick. He is outlandish, is what he is, Mike Jolly.
Dude, you're gonna have to hook me up with him, because I want to interview him, and I'm gonna grill him.
Well, it's a character, man. It's the golden age. It's 80s professional wrestling right there, Mike Jolly. It's the 80s.
You know who the biggest 80s wrestling fan is it's not anybody in the Max Wrestling podcast.
Yeah. Okay, we got to talk about this.
I do believe I am like the elder statesman in there. Okay,
you are. So people in our chat, and it's the lovely Max Wrestling chat for these. Mike always brings out the 80s references, because most of us are like 90s babies, 2000s babies. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I'm more
millennials and Generation Z.
So we don't necessarily talk.
Anytime I bust out a reference of the territorial days, and you guys are just hooked on everything I say. I mean, Portland, for example.
Hit it.
Portland was one of the hottest territories in the country. Of course, on the West Coast. I mean, of course, you had your San Francisco territory, your Vancouver, BC territory that was run by the late, great Gene Kiniski. And, of course, LaBelle's ran Los Angeles. But, you also had Memphis, that was originally run by Nick Goulas before Jerry Jarrett took over. Jerry Jarrett and, of course, Jerry Lawler. And that's why Jerry Lawler won 138 championships in Memphis over the past 35 years. But, growing up as a kid, I grew up in, I grew up in this little tiny town. You may have to Google it. It does have kind of a reputation. Ariel, Washington. So a little backstory on that town is, have you ever heard of DB Cooper?
If not,
So, oh wow. So DB Cooper was a skyjack. He skyjacked an airplane from Portland. It was on its way to Seattle, and had this was in the early 70s, so pre Heavy Metal Jesus, of course. So he hijacked the airplane, demanded they take him to, I believe it was Mexico or the Bahamas, and demanded $200,000, which back in the early 70s was a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he got the money from the feds, but he jumped out of the plane. Now supposedly his body is somewhere in the Lewis River / Lake Merwin area of Ariel, Washington. His body was never recovered. It wasn't until the early 80s that some of that $200,000 was recovered. It was recovered on the banks of the Columbia River here. So that's the story of Ariel, Washington. That's where I spent, where I grew up, with the antenna television on top of the mobile home.
well,
Only getting channels 2, 6, 8, 12, occasionally channel, the public broadcasting channel where I could watch Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. But every Saturday night was Portland wrestling. And back then you had guys like, Roddy Piper, of course, even when he was contracted with the WWF back then, of course, he would still make time to come back to Portland. Guys like, Brian Adams, Crush, got his start in Portland wrestling. Someone who just passed away earlier this year, who was one of the greatest heels in the history of Portland, Rip Oliver. And of course, Billy Jack Haynes. But believe it or not, a lot of real real big time stars actually spent time here in Portland. Guys like Tom Pritchard, the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, Chris Adams actually started in Portland.
The one who trained Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes. Another blast from the past was a big name in world class. Iceman King Parsons started in Portland.
Well, I got to mention this, Mike, because we're talking about a lot of great names, but I got to mention one. I believe you mentioned one Dutch Savage when you did your promo with Brittany Savage. I like that tie-in because he was another one, right?
Dutch Savage, actually, yes, it was from Portland. When he retired, he became a real estate agent here in Vancouver, Washington. And when they relaunched, well, it wasn't so much a relaunch. It was called Championship Wrestling USA. It was run by the referee, Sandy Barr. Of course, if anybody knows the last name Barr, they would know guys like Jesse Barr. Art Barr. And, the Barr family were personal friends of mine. I was always Art's little buddy, growing up. And his death really hit me hard. But, they say it was a mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got some news for you. It wasn't drugs. It was not drugs that killed Art. He actually had a missing vertebrae at the back of his neck.
Jesus.
And 2 weeks prior in Mexico with AAA, it was before the When Worlds Collide pay-per-view, a fan threw a chair at him and hit him in the back of the neck. And he was in a lot of pain during that pay-per-view. And then he died 10 days later after that. That big news flash there, right?
Well, here's the thing.
Hold that thought.
I'm just, I can't, you know what it is? It's crazy because like I hear about this and then you watch Dark Side of the Ring, and I'll be honest with you, like Dark Side of the Ring helps a lot of us. Like you heard the stories about Herb Abrams and then Dino Bravo passing the way he did. It's nuts just to see what happens to professional wrestling and the tragedies that we see, unfortunately.
I'm old enough, and I knew the story of Herb Abrams, and I knew the story of Dino Bravo, but hold that thought. I will be right back. I have to go grab something.
Okay, well, as Mike grabs something, you guys can check out Max Wrestling on YouTube, Max Wrestling UK, Max Wrestling Podcast, wherever you get your Max Wrestling Podcast platforms, whether it be Cast Bizox, it's got you even before there, Moses Marquez, iHeartRadio. When you're talking about Stitcher, we're talking about YouTube, we're talking about each and everywhere, including WrestlingWithWrestling.com by the one, the only Mr. Andre Corbill, where you can check out such shows as Max Wrestling Podcast, the Triple Dub Wrestling Show with myself and Andre Corbill. So many great platforms, so many great shows. WrestlingWithWrestling.com, MaxWrestling.weebly.com. We got the King of the Mic coming. Next week is Travis the Walker Anderson and Cypher in the opening round. And then we got the Demoness herself, Nicola McDonald versus Rob Chef. Right now confirmed for Promo Slam. We got the Shape versus Travis the Walker Anderson. You got yours truly on the pre-launch show with Daniel Crimmins. We got the Knowledge title right now with the Phoenix. We got Moses Marquez trying to go back for the gold, baby. And a opponent to be confirmed.
Still going? Are you still going?
I'm promoting the show, bro. I'm promoting Max Wrestling. We're on here. I gotta keep going. I'm filibustering, waiting for you to bring your ass back here. So yeah,
I'm back. I've been sitting here for the past minute and a half. I've been listening to you just go.
we gotta talk, man. We gotta promote, man. We got a hell of a show going. You're a part of the show, so hey, man, here we are. But yes, now that Mike Jolly is back,
Mr. De Niro does not. He does not know what's coming.
Dude. Well, here's the thing. Ted P. De Niro has been doing these promo challenges ever since in the RWT group, and also we have what he's doing in the promo. What he did the promo climax the last 2 years, and this was his first King of Mic. Good.
I gotta ask, what about these kids on TikTok trying to do this stuff?
Oh, here's the thing. Brad in our chat, they suck. They suck.
Hey, I want to invite them. I want to invite them on.
Oh God, bringing heel Josh and both of them going back and forth, and they're like, "We're the true heels." Fuck that. Fuck that.
I want to bring them on. You know what? And if maybe Ted, Cypher, and I can teach these kids. Classes in session, because a lot of people don't know this. With the story about I was telling you about all the names that came through Portland. Rocky Johnson came through, of course. Andre the Giant. My dad was actually a promoter for Don Owen. A lot of guys like to work for Don Owen. A lot of the wrestlers like to work for Don because he was the fairest promoter. He paid you what you were worth. And a lot of times nobody ever no-showed on him, which is, a solid for him. Okay. A lot of promoters can't say that. He was that loved and respected. He was actually president of the National Wrestling Alliance at one time. And, God bless his soul. He was just a super, super nice man. Being a 4-year-old kid, he always looked after me like I was his grandkid. It was so fun. Meeting guys like, the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, Rocky Johnson, who had a son who, I don't know if people have heard that one yet.
All right. Well, okay. Mike, since you're segueing, and promote the story with you and The Rock.
So, I knew him as Dewey. Okay, he was 4 years older than me. So he was about 8. I was about 4. Man, used to beat the crap out of me when we were kids. But he has since apologized multiple times. He's gone on to bigger and better things. But I got an unexpected surprise from him. I want to say about a year ago. I don't know if you knew that he has an app on the Android market. The Rock alarm clock.
Yes, I do. I'm aware.
Somehow he found out that I had this, and he sent me a personalized apology. Not just to mine, but nobody else. And I thought that was really cool.
That's why you gotta love The Rock. And also, that's not him as The Rock. That's him as Dwayne talking to you, man. That's
Yeah,
Dwayne.
exactly. Now, I believe I've told you this story. I told Dazzy. I believe I did tell the room about the Buddy Rose story.
Well, share it, Playboy Buddy Rose. Share the story here because Mike, you got a lot of stories. So let's do the Buddy Rose this one, and then I have one for you after this. So first, tell the Buddy Rose story.
Okay, so it was a show in Battleground, Washington, which is just kind of northeast of Vancouver here. Small town. Mm-hmm. It was a fun, because Don Owen believed in doing fundraisers for different groups. This was a fundraiser for the Battleground Volunteer Fire Department. And the main event was, this is when Buddy Rose was actually one of the biggest baby faces. Hard to believe because he played a heel so well. But he was one of the biggest baby faces in Portland at the time with Billy Jack Haynes and a very young Kurt Hennig. And they would always face the team of Rip Oliver, David Sierra, who, of course, I think a lot of people would know him as the Cuban Assassin. He was actually the Assassin. And, of course, the third man was Tom Billington, the Dynamite Kid. Well, after the show, Buddy Rose tried to pick up on a 15-year-old girl.
Ugh.
And just, this is like the whole thing that's going on now, right?
Speak out. Yeah.
Speaking out. Well, me being the 3-year-old inquisitive, I go, Mommy, what is Buddy Rose doing? She looks and she went ballistic on him. Now, fast forward 25 years later.
Oh, no.
He runs into me at a bar here. And he's a lot bigger than he was back in, 82, right?
Yeah.
And I see him and I'm just pissing my pants, terrified. And the first thing he says to me, he looks at me in that big old gruff look that he always had. And he's like, "Hey, were you that kid that prevented me from getting in that car all ago?" I'm like, yeah. Thank you. You saved me from making the biggest mistake in my life.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. Holy shit.
Now, isn't that cool how that comes full circle 25 years after that happens?
The fact that he remembered that, and I'm like, I was just like, holy Christ, wow. And I told my mom that very recently, and she had a newfound respect for him, but sadly he passed away in 2009. He was a hell of a trainer, especially with Ed Wiskowski, better known as Colonel De Beers.
Okay, so here's my thing. I'm going to mention this to you because, again, Mike, I know you know that I'm younger than you are, obviously, but I'm going to say this. My only memory of Playboy Buddy Rose. So for those that have the Shawn Michaels from the Vault DVD, one of the extra matches on there, I believe it's Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty as the Midnight Rockers against Playboy Buddy Rose and Doug Summers.
Now, which one was it? Was it the One where Summers and the Rockers were busted open.
Mm-hmm. I believe it
Or
was.
was
Yeah, it was the one where they were busted open.
Okay, yeah, because that was the Christmas Eve episode, Christmas Eve, 1986.
Thank you. So yes, there's a young Shawn Michaels on that with Marty Jannetty, Midnight Rockers, Shawn and Marty. Love to party.
I remember watching that match too on
Nice.
TV at the old Showboat Hotel and Casino, which is no longer around in Las Vegas. I found out.
Now for comedy, Mike, this was also around the time I think when they had the Wrestle Rock Rumble, Midnight Rockers, Shawn and Marty. They love to party. Wrestle Rock Rumble.
Actually, that was like earlier in '86.
Yes.
That was earlier, yeah. I was earlier.
See?
Wrestle Rock Rumble with Vern Gagne trying to rap. Holy crap!
Well, I'm Gagne and I'm in a cage. I'm in a rage, and I'm like, oh my god. Larry Zbyszko was actually not bad in that. Larry Zbyszko
wasn't bad in that. Great Gagne. Holy.
Oh
my. OMG.
I'm in a rage, and we're gonna fight in the cage. You gotta get Brody in the cage.
Yeah, and look what happened to him. Brody fucking massacred him. So, can I drop F-bombs here?
Yes, you can, Mike. It's okay.
Oh, okay, right. I was like eating Reese's peanut butter cups right
now. Oh, man. It's all right. I got me some pop, and I got me some water. So I'm good, man. I'm all beverages. You're having some Reese's Pieces. What we do. It's what we do.
Reese's butter cups.
Reese's peanut butter cups. Is that like that? Okay, isn't there like some peanut butter whiskey that you always promote on the show that I always have to hear about?
Oh, yes. In fact, let me go grab that real quick.
Oh, excuse me while Mike goes and gets a peanut butter whiskey.
It's right here, actually.
Excuse me, Mr. Jolly. Every time I hear your show, you and your peanut butter whiskey. Mike, every time I have peanut butter now, I think of you and the damn peanut butter whiskey, man.
So cheap plug time.
Cheap plug.
This is Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It is to the Misfits, Black Sheep, and Screwballs. It is 70 horsepower. And when I say horsepower, I mean 70 proof. Mm-hmm. Like I told Dom Cat on Monday night on my show, I don't believe they sell it anywhere outside of the Pacific Coast. California, Oregon, Washington.
My thing with that is like peanut butter, whiskey, and the Screwballs. Here's the thing, though, just peanut butter. Now, I'm just thinking to myself, peanut butter whiskey. You know what I'm saying? But apparently, from what you've said and you've told on your show, it's really, really good.
In fact, I'm about ready to take a sniffer off it right now.
And that's the thing, man. Like, I'll be honest with you. You're more the beer guy than I am. I'll be honest with you. As my straight edge self, I know learning more about beer from you because you're always the big beer guy with your show. That's what I appreciate. And also, I mean, you also look at Bar Rescue with John Taffer and the art and the science behind, drinks and the whole nine. And also Stone Cold Steve Austin. Sam, go ahead.
Well, truth be told, I've already had two beer. I've had two 19 and 21 ounce cans of beer. One was a low-cal hazy IPA, which tasted like trash. Mm-hmm. The other one was one of my favorites, called Fresh Haze IPA, made by a local brewery here in the Northwest, Deschutes. They're out of Bend, Oregon. And contrary to popular belief, and I've had this discussion with a couple of my guests on my show, one who I wish to keep anonymous out of respect. The other is a gentleman by the name of Pete, and he produces. Now, people should know that I also interview. See, my podcast is more geared towards the session wrestlers,
which is awesome. I mean, it's a great platform for them.
And fetish wrestling, basically, cat fighting and all that. And one of my guys that I talk to is a producer of a company called Bay Fight. Mm-hmm. His name's Pete. He lives in Tampa, Florida.
Who, by the way, just for the record, don't mean to cut you off, great guy is Pete at Bay Fight. Shout out to Pete. Go ahead.
Yeah, shout out to Pete. Love you, brother. I'm sorry that I didn't get to make it down there. But the whole COVID thing. So eventually I will make it down there and we will have some beers. But he and I will talk about beer on my show. There was one episode when, of course, my anonymous patron was on, and we were talking beer, and my adopted brother called in, Nathan. Now Nate is trying to get in on this. He if he can get the time off, he's going to come join me at Gen Con as co-host.
Nice. Here's the thing.
And if you thought I was crazy,
Nathan
was a football player and a high school wrestler, and he's a big guy. But he and I have a competition going to see whose hair is going to be longer by then. I think he's got the lead on me by about 4 years.
Well, I gotta say, Mike, I've seen you trying to make your hair's growing, man. It is growing.
Oh no, he hasn't had a haircut in 5 years.
What the fuck?
It's a Washington thing, okay? It's a Washington thing. Well, for the longest time, I always wanted long hair, but because of my job, because I work retail, I had to have it kept short, neat, etc., etc. Ever since we got, a lot of people say we got bought out, but it's more like we merged with Albertsons. I don't know what other company. I don't know. It's kind of like Kroger's.
Fair
Is
enough.
the company I work for? Kind of like a Kroger. They relaxed the dress code. So, I mean, what I'm wearing now, jeans, Deadpool t-shirt that says autism awareness.
That's the thing. Here's the thing, Mike. You've always been, this is what I always loved and respected you, is the autism. Like, the awareness that you provide with autism. I love that, man. I truly do. I had to put you over on that front, too, because it's true, man.
Well, this shirt has got so much respect. At Gen Con last year, I had people asking me about where I got this shirt because, they know somebody whose child is autistic. One gal that I was talking to who wasn't even, part of the event. She was there because she was a chaperone. She's like, "You support that?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I do." And we were talking for a good 45 minutes. When I was in Pittsburgh, for the ill-fated, that ill-fated, Selena Sky actually took a picture of me in this shirt because her son is autistic. I have two very, very close, very good friends here in, Washington, Oregon, and I've met their kids. They both have children that are autistic, but they absolutely adore the living hell out of me because I don't treat them differently.
I think that's what's amazing about that too, is because I'll be honest with you, as someone who you're talking to has learning disability and epilepsy, I'll be honest with you, it's not what really defines you. It's how you get through the obstacles in your life. And that's the thing, whether you have autism or what have you, you don't treat anybody differently. You would treat them as, as you do a normal person. So I think that's what people need to learn from that as well. And I actually admire, and I think a lot of people to adhere to what you're saying, Mr. Mike Jolly.
I'll be like, "Hey, give me a fist bump it," and my friend Stephanie, her daughter Sophie is autistic. I'll be like, "Soph, how you doing?" And she'll be like really shy around me. I don't know why. She's like, "I'm good, Mikey. Can we go play, video games?" I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." and I'll also, I would sit there and play video games with her for hours on end. That kid would wear me the fuck out.
It's what we do, man. Video games is life. That's what we do. We just wear it out on the games and shit.
Her brother who has ADHD, and I have ADD myself. I don't take meds for it, but shiny object, right? Um, but he just adores the living hell out of me, and it was really, really something to see when their mom kind of disappeared for a minute because she was at the neighbor's house, right?
Mhm.
Neighbor's apartment, and the kids didn't know where she was. They clung to me. I'm like, all right, guys, let's just stay calm. Let's head back. We'll be good. We'll be all right. But they just hung on to me, and I walked them back to their apartment. Their mom came in. They're like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, I kind of walked them back here. We're having some ice cream now. Sorry. Hey, truth be told, I'm a big kid, okay?
You are, and I'll be honest with you. Just
I can act like an adult,
yes.
but if I'm around a child, and a good example of this is when I actually worked at a bar in Southeast Portland,
Mhm.
and and this was in a bad part of Portland, okay? Asian gang central.
I was about to say a lot of gangs, but yeah, that sums it up right there.
Well, they all actually enjoyed being around me because I was just, that funny and that cool. But every time a little child would come around, the first thing I would ask, I would make it so they could understand. I would say, how many fingers old are you?
Nice.
And they would hold up like 4. I'm like, you know how many fingers old I am? They'll be like, no. I'm like, okay, you hold up your fingers. Grandma, you hold up yours. Mom, you hold up yours, and I'll hold up mine.
Yeah.
And I go, now count all those fingers that you see. You're ancient. Oh, no, you didn't.
Well, you see, I love that because that's how you have to be. Myself, I'm a big kid, man, so I can relate to that. That's how you got to be
Hey,
around kids all night.
Hey, despite them declaring bankruptcy a couple years ago, and I miss them dearly, but I'm always a Toys R Us kid.
Me too, man. The giraffe, Jeffrey, the whole nine. I used to love going to Toys R Us. That was my shit. It's my shit.
That was my shit too. Fuck, that was my shit before it was your shit. I'll tell you that much right now.
Okay,
Hell,
thank you, Mike.
I actually got kicked out of Toys R Us a few times.
Okay, why'd you get kicked out of Toys R Us?
Playing tackle football in the aisles.
This man playing tackle.
Go there. We would go there. We would go there and we would grab a football off the shelf and we would start playing tackle football in the aisles.
All right, funny story about Toys R Us. When I was a kid, because you got to understand, late 90s, early 2000s, one of the biggest thing going on, people, was the
You're a millennial. I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on, bro. Hold on. Let me tell the story. So, Tony Hawk, Dave Mira, Travis Pastrana. It's motocross city. It's skateboarding. It's the whole night. It's freaking Ultimate X.
Talking about Pro Skater, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yes, sir.
How funny you should mention that.
Hit it, bro.
They are remaking it and re-releasing it. Pro Skater 1 and 2.
That's fucking awesome. I got to cop that, man, because that's what I got in trouble with Toys R Us for. I was doing like a lot of those moves in the aisle on the skateboard that was just sitting right there, and I got in trouble for it. So
I'm what you would call an old elder statesman of gaming as well. In fact, Dazzy knows this.
Daz fucking is the man when it comes to games, and we know. Yeah, I know you're very big into your old school games.
No, because he posted something, and I kind of trumped him with all my systems that I played.
Okay.
And the first thing he did was thumbs up, and he hasn't talked to me since.
Oh, well, dude, that's the thing about your
You know-
gaming stuff, man. Good.
But God, I've been playing them since '70s. All right, so I'm talking Magnavox Odysseys
Nice.
and Atari 2600, the ColecoVision, the Intellivision,
You
the
playing
52.
Pong? You playing Pong over there, Mike, too?
That was before my time. No, I had the ColecoVision also, which had a game called War Games based off the movie.
Nice.
And the ColecoVision controllers were really strange. It had had the numeric pad on it, like a telephone. It had a little thumb, joystick, but it had this little slot where you could slide these little cards in to make it so it would coincide with the game. Now, believe it or not, you know what game came standard on a ColecoVision and who made the game?
Oh, and what?
Donkey Kong.
Oh, classic.
The original Donkey Kong was the game that came with a ColecoVision. Who made Donkey Kong? Nintendo.
Yep.
Before Nintendo got into the home video game market. And if this can tell you how old I am, I remember the video game crash of the early 80s. And I had the game that caused it.
What was it?
E.T.
Wow.
That game was so fucking horrible.
Okay. I don't mean to cut you off, but here's the thing. Again, being my age, most of the games that we had were the Grand Theft Autos, and we had a lot of the wrestling games, and there was a lot of basketball games, and also, of course, Street Fighter and, Mortal Kombat, the whole nine. But for me, like, there was a lot of, Gran Turismos that I would play, but that was, like, the extent of it. Like, I was not around for a lot of the great games that you've had.
When fucking Combat came out for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, it was funny.
See?
Street Fighter 2 came out for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I had both of those systems too.
Fucking, those were great. Like, those were great. Like, here's the thing. I don't know as a video gamer, and I'm going to ask you this. Like, I can't fucking, all right, now WWE puts out, like, the 2K20s and stuff. Like, for me, wrestling games, I'll just go back and play the old ones. I can't do what they have now, you know what I'm saying?
Well, they canceled 2K21, right?
I heard that, yes. I knew that.
It's going to be an arcade style one.
Oh, I saw the trailer, and it reminded me of the old All-Stars game where they were like big asses as hell. You know what I'm saying?
It can't be nearly as bad as the In Your House game.
Oh, that game was terrible. Now that was horrible. That I can admit. I've seen that game. I've played that game.
I'm not talking about the In Your House game that was like on the Wii and the PS1, but I'm talking about the old.
Yeah, you're talking about old school In Your House. Yep.
Yep. Which surprised me when they said they were bringing back In Your House. The event for NXT.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that I was at the final NXT takeover for 2020 up to this point.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You were at that.
I was at Takeover Portland, yes, and that was that. And they always say that it's nothing. It can be, you can watch it on TV, but it's nothing like seeing it live.
Mm-hmm.
That is an honest to God assessment. All right. Takeover Portland ranks right up there for me with WrestleMania 19 when I was, in Seattle, or the very first event in Portland in 10 years back in 2002.
Whew. Now, okay, I'm going to ask you this right now. So you're at WrestleMania 19 because you're talking about that. Your reaction when you first saw Brock Lesnar attempt that shooting star press live.
So here's the thing about that. This is when, the internet websites were still kind of in their infancy, groups, websites like Wrestling Inc.,
Yep.
WrestleView, Figure 4. This was before Alvarez and Meltzer came together. So you had the Figure 4 website, you had the Wrestling Observer, of course you had Wade Keller. So a lot of people, myself included, knew that he did that Shooting Star Press in OPW, and he hit it perfectly every time. And I remember being at Mania, and I was with 3 of my friends, and they'd never seen Brock Lesnar do something like that. And they'd never even heard of him doing something like that. You know, they were just TV fans, basically, right? So what they saw on TV was what they knew. See, they weren't, a diehard, backstage person like, you or I.
Like guys who just watch anything besides the TV shows. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you're in for a treat. Check this out. And then, because where we were sitting, we were above the press box at Safeco Field. So if you've seen that event and where the press box is, that was pretty fucking high up and pretty far away. I mean, we had a hard time seeing the monitor. We were so far up. But I just remember I go, yeah, check this out. And then all of a sudden he hits that rotation and then lands on his head, and I'm like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. I remember as an 11-year-old dude, I freaked out. I'm like, he's too fucking far. I'm like, he's too far. And then boom, right on his head.
And, and I would be remiss, and Dazzy can disagree with this till the sun comes up.
Okay,
but it is true. For the foreseeable future, Taker has retired.
Oh, okay. All right, we got to talk about this. So I finished watching The Undertaker Last Ride, and personally, well done in all parts, all 5 parts. Now, for me, watching that does sound like a man who was content, who was just ready to move on. But you never know, because we did make the joke about, obviously Saudi Arabia, and we did talk about, if for another WrestleMania. But for me, I think he is done. But like I said, you never know, because once you do get that itch, you do get the urge. Go ahead, man.
Survivor Series this year.
That's true.
They're gonna do something, because that is the 30th anniversary
of his debut. Yep.
His debut. I watched that on pay-per-view.
With the $1 Million Man, Brother Love, making his way to the ring with his manager, Brother Love. I give you The Undertaker.
I actually watched that. It was the first pay-per-view that my dad ever bought for me, because we had just moved to Vancouver the previous month. And in where we came from originally, Woodland, Washington, which is in Cowlitz County of Washington. Woodland, Cowlitz County at that time did not have, like pay-per-view. So, I got to see that Survivor Series, even with the god-awful match of Survival and the gobbledygooker reveal. But as a 13-year-old, that was pretty sweet. Pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things where, like, you have the debut of The Undertaker, but then you have the gobbledygooker. Then, like, again, like you mentioned, you're 13, you're a youngin', so you're captured in these moments. But then as you get older into adulthood, you're like, that was pretty effing lame.
And, it's funny. My dad had a video camera, and, all the nieces, nephews, grandkids, basically, my grandparents, God bless them, except for my grandmother. She can rot hell.
Whoa. Okay. That bad?
I'll explain later.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead. Keep going.
And as soon as the chocolate and peanut butter get out of my teeth here.
All right, brother. And after, keep going. Keep going.
My dad came up with the video camera, And I look right in the camera and I go, Survivor Series, 7 o'clock, pay-per-view, be there. I just look right in the camera and said this as my cousins are eating dinner. I'm like, what the hell?
That's wrestling fandom at its finest right there.
I was cutting a promo while my cousins are eating dinner.
Be there. See,
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that. I love that.
13, 30 years ago. Where the hell have y'all been?
Oh. Bro, that's why I love you, man. That's why I love you. Man, all right, now I gotta ask this because wrestling topic here because I just want to ask you because I did put the breaking news in there. It did come out. I want to get your thoughts about this.
I saw that. Tessa Blanchard.
Tessa Blanchard. What do you think about them stripping her, terminating the agreement with Tessa Blanchard, Impact Wrestling? No longer the Impact World Heavyweight Champ.
What the fuck did she do? Is it because of the coronavirus or what?
Her and Daga were in Mexico. I think she did some photo shoots with Selena De La Renta from MLW over there. But yeah, I think she was going out with Impact about, possibly not going because of the travel restrictions, the whole nine. And I think Impact was calling her like, yo, you need to be here. Didn't answer the phone. And then boom, nothing. They got rid of her.
She's got a bad attitude. I mean, she thinks her shit doesn't stink because, one, her dad is Tully Blanchard.
And her stepfather's Magnum TA. Yep.
But let me tell you, girl. I mean, you're not as good as people think you are.
Okay, I will refute that one. I'll just refute it one thing before you go on. Now, when she was in the Mae Young Classic, the first one, I gotta say this right now. One of my favorite bouts in the first one was her and Kairi Sane in the semifinal.
Screw her.
Screw her. Okay.
I do not like her at all because she has an attitude and she's a bully.
Yes, for what happened in Mexico, yes.
So I know of one person that really, and she's a friend of mine on Facebook. You might know her, if you remember old Ring of Honor.
Okay.
The name Simply Luscious.
Oh yes, and she was in TNA for like a very short time. Early TNA, yes.
Veronica, her last name is Brazier now.
Yes.
She's a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine now. Yeah. I would like to see Veronica teach her some respect because that's what Tessa needs. Is she? Yeah. Your father's Tully Blanchard. Yes, your stepfather is Magnum TA. But you know what? You didn't learn a damn thing from your father or your stepfather about respect for the business.
I'd love to see teacher because they were in WoW together. I believe Simply Luscious, her former tag partner, Amber O'Neil, who was in WoW with Miss Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah, and I guess she's not married to Doc Gallows anymore.
No, not anymore. It hasn't been for a while, man. Doing her thing over there in WoW Women of Wrestling, which unfortunately is not going to be on for another season on Access TV. Dude, I've been enjoying those, man. Reminiscent of the old Glow with David McLean.
In the fetish industry, who's been at the Hit the Mat gym is Miss O'Neil.
Okay.
Miss O'Neil.
Yes, Amber O'Neil there. I know Onyx, the former Onyx, has been there as well, who we touched upon. Another one who's great.
Yeah, Billy. Bronco Billy. She's another friend of mine. Mm-hmm. She actually is going to be, I believe she's going to be at Gen Con as well.
Here's the thing, man. We got a lot of people there.
I can't wait to meet her. All these people but the one person I am most excited to meet. I have known her for 3 years now.
Oh, I know where you're going here. Go ahead, man.
You've had her on your podcast, plural, twice now, and she hasn't come on mine yet, and I'm kind of angry at both of you for that.
He's irked, man. Go ahead.
I'm irked. I'm very irked.
He's irked.
Miss Vixen Romano.
Oh, the beautiful Miss Maria Romano. Hazel. The beautiful Hazel.
Hazel. I told a mutual friend of ours a story. Just how awesome she is.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of years ago, it was for my 41st birthday. Now, she really didn't have to do this, but she did. and she usually charges people, X amount of dollars for a video. She sent me a happy birthday video, a personalized happy birthday video. That just tells you how that my respect level for her went from awesome to holy fucking shit, you are really above and beyond awesome right there.
You have to check. I'm going to say this for the people listening. If you guys are not aware, Vixen Romano on Twitter, Instagram, probably one of the sweetest ladies, like Mike mentioned, and a badass. Ready to kick your ass. Looks absolutely fabulous. Man, she is one of the best out there. I can't wait till she's in LFC. I'm going to say that right now. I cannot wait till she's in LFC.
I can't wait either. And you know what? I've already volunteered to be in her corner. And she knows that I will take no shit off of Leon Hader.
Oh, all right. We got to talk about this. So those LFC coaches, they know the kind of people we are up here in the Northwest. We are a bit crazy. Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'll address this very briefly. So for those that don't know, so
make it quick because I got to make a restroom break here.
All right, I'll make it quick. Leon Hader, who was the coach of the black team on LFC, put his hands on, at the time, the debuting Tomiko the Temptress Tajima in LFC, and he also put his hands on the substitute coach who was on the black team but filling in for Joel Kane, Mr. Jesse El Toro Santos. So ever since then, Mr. Mike Jolly has not been a fan of Leon Hader.
Hate to cut you off here. Hate to break it off for it right there. But I got 2 words for him.
Yeah.
I got 2 words for him. Suck it.
There you go. There you go.
And not young bucks. I'm talking
DX. DX, man. Oh, so yeah, that's what went on that on the LFC front. But man, I gotta say this to you because, dude, I got a couple final things I gotta say to you. And dude, I can't wait to have you back on In the Hot Seat with Max, man. I love talking to you. You're my buddy. You know you're my broski, and you know I love you. I look forward to getting back on the Washington Wrestletalk podcast because people, whether it be for Delight De La Cruz, whether it be for Chloe Cummings, Kit Kat Baby, whoever you have in your show, Dom Cat, dude, you do a lot of great work with what you do in the session community. It's always a fun time being on your show and getting to shoot the breeze with you. So, Mike, I got to thank you first and foremost. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry about that.
Dude, I was putting you over. That. I love you. I got a couple final things left, man. I was telling you got great guests. People check out the Washington Wrestletalk podcast.
The problem that I have with Leon Hader, that you touched upon with, putting his hands on Tomiko the Temptress Tajima.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I have a problem with that is, who was my first live guest ever?
Tomiko the Temptress Tajima.
Now, I'm gonna cut a promo on him.
Nice.
He will succumb to the darkness.
Look out.
And that's it.
I love that, man. Look out for Leon Hader, man. Look out, Leon Hader. What's going on with Mike Jolly if that happens at an LFC event?
All right, so I did promise you one thing.
Yes, bro. Well, before we even do the one thing, dude, you got to promote the social medias.
Oh, well, I got to do more than the social medias. I have to promote. You can follow me on Twitter at Triple R Product. You can check out my Instagram, which is Washington Wrestle. I couldn't put the last 4 letters there to be Wrestle Talk. Goddamn Facebook. Of course, you can find me on Facebook at Mikey Jolly. Yeah, apparently I was stupidly drunk when I made this. Don't forget, you can also check me out on. You can become a patron on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Washington Wrestletalk. I have a Discord server now, Washington Wrestletalk, where we talk, you give me your ideas for what kind of guests you want on my show, what kind of things you want to hear on my show. Got so much more big things coming up on the show. I've got a merchandise store coming again. Got some sponsors coming up. But I made you a promise earlier today.
Yes, you did. Mike, I'll let you have the floor on this, my brother.
So, Monday night, you heard me sing Mama Said by Metallica.
Yep.
So I thought tonight would be, especially the way things are going, I may have to turn up the volume on the TV here a little bit. But I like to, the great prophet Jim Morrison once said, let's see if it plays here.
Okay.
Yep. You'll hear it in a minute. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When
When
you're
you're strange.
strange, when you're strange, people are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. Cheers, brother.
Oh, thank you, bro. That was awesome. Dude, you got me flashing back
Still
to the
going.
Lost Boys.
We're
You
still
got me
going.
flashing back to the Lost Boys, Mike.
We're still going. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange, all right, yeah. This is turning out pretty good, actually.
It is, man. You got me flashing back to the Lost Boys. You're singing. Guys, Mike can do it all. The Washington Wrestletalk podcast each and every week, man.
When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.
Oh, man. Flashbacks to the Lost Boys, Washington Wrestletalk podcast. Had so many great guests.
We didn't mention tonight was The Walking Dead.
Okay, do you want to mention The Walking Dead really quickly before we close out?
Yeah, before we close out, hey, you know what? You can't hate me for being so far behind on it because I'm only on season 5. I actually I'm at the end of season 5 now. God bless Netflix. I'm slowly but sure. But to my credit, I made it through the first 5 seasons in a weekend. One weekend.
I've spread it out a couple days, but it's so addicting, man. It's such a good show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank my host,
Oh, brother.
Mr. Michael Larkin.
Thank
the
you.
one only Mr. Michael Larkin. Catch him on his podcast, the LC Beauty Strength Dominance podcast. Check him out for In the Hot Seat. Give him some love. Hashtag just saying.
And the same goes to Mike Jolly on the Washington Wrestletalk podcast. Follow him, hashtag just saying. Check him out in King of the Mic in 2 weeks.
Hey, and I also want you all to check out my Irish Brew Crew family. And you can check them out on Twitter, of course, at Are You Having That? Leather Jacket Guy, Sir Lisa Levi, and at John Sharpson, Johnny Bullshit. Check out their YouTube channel, Are You Having That? You will have it. It's a fun channel to watch. They do a lot of alcohol tastings. They get packages from all over the world. We are the Brew Crew. And they affectionately call me, and I told them that they can't.
We're gonna bring this up, aren't we? We're gonna bring this up. Okay.
I can't. They call me something that is you, Mike on the mic. So I am officially Mike on the mic to them.
I'll take that, man. On the mic with Mike. Mike on the mic. Yes, I'll take that. That's cool, man, because it's you. It's all good. It's AG, Mike.
All
It's
right,
AG.
brother.
All right, my
Hey,
brother.
I just have to say one. I just have to say, arigato. thank you. Gracias for having me on the show tonight. It's been a blast.
As it has. That's another edition of In the Hot Seat done. For Mike Jolly, my name is Mike Larkin. Support Max Wrestling. Check out Max Wrestling. Check out Washington Wrestletalk. Support your podcasters. We'll talk to you in the next episode. Thank you, broski.
Peace.
Peace.
Good evening, wrestling fans. Welcome back to another edition of The Evolution of Pro Wrestling. Woo! I'm Lewis, and this is Jay. Who made a bigger impact? Stone Cold Steve Austin
or The Rock?
Shawn Michaels or Ricky the Dragon Steamboat?
See, this is a crazy topic.
And we got an exciting topic for you tonight.
Who's better in which era? CM Punk or Bret Hart?
WrestleMania. Holy cow. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the best and most shocking moments in SummerSlam history.
The thing that he does so well is he puts a smile on everybody's face.
Your show.
We are going to steal the show.
I guess it's time for a new order.
Have you seen Max Wrestling?
I will show you the light.
We're talking about me. We're talking about the podcast machine.
Your boy, Moses Marquez.
Same day, new era.
We are the best at this.
Max Wrestling Podcast every single Thursday. Go to maxwrestlinguk.weebly.com for more information.